today's barakah and blessing with recitation of Umm Kitab Al-Fatihah. Okay, before we begin, I would like to introduce our speaker for today. So her name is Dr. Nurul Ain GP Norman, and she is currently a head of research in ISTAC. She received her bachelor degree in Islamic theology and culture at Firdaus University of Mashhad, Iran, and he continued her master degree in philosophy and Islamic theology in Mofid University and her PhD in University Malaya. So her publication mostly related in Islamic philosophy, and her recent article titled Exploring the Ethical Dimensions of Faith, the Role of the Soul in Achieving Maqasid al-Sharia, where you can find and read it at Al-Shajarah, which is a journal under ISTAC. So our topic for today is quite interesting. It's regarding Islamic parenting in the modern world, challenges and strategy, because we know in modern world today there's a lot of setbacks and challenges. So without further ado, please welcome Dr. Aini.
Thank you, Sister Farhan Fadrani, for moderating us for today. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. My dear brothers and sisters, I want to start with a heartfelt story. So one that made me deeply reflect on the responsibility and blessing of parenthood. So in my university days, I used to work as a volunteer teacher in hospitals. And there was one experience that stays with me. And one day, I passed by a ward of babies, and their intense crying was heart-wrenching, and it was high-pitched. A sound that echoed. I'm sorry, somebody paused. So one day I passed by a ward of babies, and their intense crying was heart-wrenching and high-pitched, and a sound that echoed through the room. So I couldn't help but feel the pain of their suffering. And it was so innocent, and it was beautiful, yet enduring a torment because of the choices made by their mothers. And this was a ward where babies were born to mothers struggling with addiction, and the babies' cries were a result of addiction, as they were born to mothers struggling with substance abuse. And the sight broke my heart, not just for the child, but for the profound impact a mother's actions can have on the smallest, most vulnerable lives. And it made me realize that nurturing a child truly begins in the womb, with the choices we make as parents even before they came into this world. Brothers and sisters, parenthood in Islam is seen as a sacred trust, as an amana, a responsibility. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has entrusted us with children, not just to care for their health and their physical bodies, but to also nurture their souls. And as parents, our responsibility is heavy. And Allah says in the Quran in Surah At-Tahrim, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara wa quduha an-nas wal hijar. O you who have believed, protect yourselves and your families from the hellfire, whose fuel is people and stone. And our role is not just about providing for our children's physical needs, meaning the food and the health, and I will speak about the halal food later, but also about guiding them, about shielding them from harm and preparing them for the hereafter. And parenting is a journey of patience. It's a journey of love and a journey of sacrifice, but it's also also one that brings us closer to Allah Azza wa Jal as we guide the next generation to embody the teachings of Islam. And this journey of parenting is about nurturing souls, instilling love for Allah, and helping children recognize their purpose as believers. Dear brothers and sisters, in these times, our guiding lights is the Holy Quran and the teachings of Prophet, peace be upon him. And there are three principles stand which stand at the heart of Islamic parenting. And number one is instilling Tawheed and faith. And one of the most beautiful stories of parenting in the Quran is that of Luqman al-Hakim. In Surah Luqman, verse 13, Luqman advises his son with wisdom. Ya bunayya la tushrik billah, inna shirka lazulmun azim. O my son, do not associate anything with Allah, and indeed association with him is great injustice. And this shows us the importance of building a foundation of Tawheed. Tawheed is the oneness of God as the core of our children's values, our children's strength, and our children's ethics. And it's a reminder that true resilience comes from faith. Number two of what we were talking about, the second principle stands at the heart of Islamic parenting is building character and good morals, that is akhlaq. And one of the most touching stories of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, with children is about his grandson, Hassan and Hussein. So one day, while the Prophet was delivering a sermon in the mosque, his two young grandsons entered and they were stumbling as they walked. And seeing them, the Prophet stopped his sermon and picked them up and hugged them with great affection, then resumed his sermon with them by his side. And he later said, indeed, your wealth, your children are but a trial. And this is Surah 64, verse 15, which is a reminder of the balance between love for family and duty to Allah, while showing us that love, that compassion, and that patience with children are integral parts of our faith. And this act of tenderness and humility from the Prophet teaches us that showing affection and interrupting even the most important task to take care for our children is an act of love and mercy. So by embodying these values, we create a nurturing environment that instills kindness and respect in our children. And our actions actually speak louder than words. And when children witness our warmth and compassion, they grow up learning to share these qualities with others. And this is the essence of Islamic parenting, where building character or akhlaq begins with the small acts of kindness that leave lasting impressions on our children's hearts. Principle number three of which is in the heart of Islamic parenting is justice and fairness. So number one we spoke about was instilling tawheed and faith. Number two was building character and good morals, that is love. Number three, we come to justice and fairness. One of the most profound examples of justice and fairness in the stories of the Prophet is that of Prophet Dawood alayhi salam. So Prophet Dawood is known for his wisdom and fairness. And Dawood was chosen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to judge disputes among his people. In one instance, two men came to him with a disagreement, and each presented his side of the story. And instead of hastily taking one side, Prophet Dawood listened to both perspectives carefully and patiently. So he was known to seek truth and fairness in every judgment he made, ensuring that justice was upheld regardless of who was involved. And this example of Prophet Dawood's wisdom in judgment teaches us the importance of fairness, especially as parents. And when we approach situations with an open heart and a commitment to justice, even when it may challenge us, we teach our children integrity, we teach our children accountability, and the value of treating everyone with fairness. And by modeling justice within the home, we guide our children to understand and embody these values, preparing them to carry these values, these principles into their own lives. Brothers and sisters, here I would also like to, to also stress upon the importance of halal food. So when we talk about food, we are nourishing just not our bodies, but we are nourishing also our spirits as well. And this purity has a profound effect on our children's hearts, softening them and making them more open to guidance, patience, and faith. And it helps build a strong, lasting connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's not just about the food itself, it's about the source. Is the income truly halal? Sometimes people cut corners, they engage in dishonest practices or take advantage of others just to increase their earnings. And if the food itself is halal, if the means of the earning it it it, it's not pure, it still can impact on our hearts and souls. So let's remember that halal is more than what's on the plate. It's the entire journey of how we bring that food to our family. My honorable brothers and sisters, uh, today the challenge we face as parents are immense, and we're raising our children in a world so different from the one we grew up in. And there's a constant pressure on our kids, the academic stress, and then the social media distractions and social societal expectations they're exposed to day by day, out. And many times, even our children, they don't fully understand the weight of these pressures, but yet they feel it deeply. And our children face anxiety, and they're growing up in a world that often values appearance, you know, uh, instant success and gratification over patience and inner strength. So, how actually can we raise our children in this environment while holding onto the timeless values of our faith? This is a question. And let's take a moment to reflect on the beautiful example of Luqman again, who Allah mentions in the Quran, in Surah Luqman. It says, وَإِذْ قَالَ لُقْمَانُ لِابْنِهِ وَهُوَ يَعِظُهُ يَا بُنَيَّ. So when Luqman said to his son, while advising him, "Oh my son, oh my son," قال لقمان لابنه وهو يعظه يا بني لا تشرك بالله إن الشرك لظلم عظيم. So notice how Luqman doesn't just instruct his son or advise his son. He speaks with love and he speaks with care, and his advice is gentle, guiding his son with compassion towards belief and humility. And Luqman advises his son to pray, to be humble, and to be mindful that every small deed counts. And he shows us that our words to our children should be filled with wisdom and love, encouraging them in their connection with Allah and grounding them in strong values. And this approach of advising with kindness calling our children lovingly to the truth is an example we can bring into our own parenting. It's a reminder to guide our children with the same gentleness, helping them build a connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and a foundation of a faith that will support them throughout their lives. And as we guide them, we must remember that every child is unique with their own strength. They have weaknesses just like us. They have potential. And as parents, it is our responsibility to know our children, to recognize and to nurture the potential. And this requires time and requires abundance of patience and genuine effort to understand each child individually. And whether your child is quiet, is energetic, or inquisitive, and these qualities are Allah's gifts. And our role is to guide and to help them realize their potential in a way that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ladies and gentlemen, in today's world, being resilient in faith has become one of the most important and challenging rules for our children. And even hard for us, and even harder now than it was in our days. Our children actually face pressures and distractions that can shake their connection with Allah if they're not firmly grounded in faith. And that's why teaching them resilience through their connection to Allah is so essential. It's so important. And I'm reminded of the story of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and his son Ismail alayhi salam. When Ibrahim alayhi salam saw a vision commanding him to sacrifice his beloved son, he didn't keep it to himself. And he shared it with Ismail, trusting his son's faith, and Ismail's response was one of the absolute faith and submission to Allah. What did he say? Ya abati if'al ma tu'mar satajidni insha'Allah min as-sabirin. So, oh my father, do as you're commanded, you will find me if Allah wills of the steadfast. Imagine the depth of trust and faith there. The, the story is a beautiful, beautiful example of a father involving his son in a matter of faith and respecting his maturity. And this trust and open communication built resilience with Ismail. And let us take this example and nurture our children's faith through our daily actions and conversations. So it's important. Conversations are very important. Involve them, let them ask questions, and let them create a home where they feel comfortable to grow in their love for Allah, the most merciful, most compassionate. Dear parents, the cradles of our societies and the nurturers of our future. Another aspect of parenting is actually showing patience and mercy when our children falter. And the story of Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam and his son Yusuf alayhi salam in Surah Yusuf, Yusuf offers us so much wisdom. And despite the hurt caused by his son, Yaqub alayhi salam remained patient, remained forgiving, and remained steadfast in his dawn. He didn't turn his back on him. Instead, he kept hoping and praying for their turn to rightness. And this story is also a reminder that even the most devoted, loving parent cannot control every decision a child makes in the future or even now. And Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam guided his children with wisdom and faith, but he understood that each of them had their own journey. And when his sons hurt Yusuf and caused him an unimaginable pain, Yaqub responded with patience and dua, not force or punishment. He knew that his role was to guide, was to love, and to pray for their return to righteousness, and even when he couldn't control their choices. And in fact, one of the most challenging aspects of parents in the modern world is learning the difference between guiding and controlling our children. And the story of Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam and his son Yusuf alayhi salam gives us a deeper perspective on this. In today's world, Control often means pushing children to follow a set of paths, choosing their interests or making decisions for them. But actually, true guidance comes from understanding, from support, and allowing children the space to develop their own relationship with Allah and to learn from their own choices. And like Yaqub, we can lead with patience and compassion, creating an environment of trust and faith where our children feel safe, come back to us, and no matter. And this approach builds confidence and a stronger connection with our children. By guiding rather than controlling, we allow them to grow resilient in their faith and trust in Allah, preparing them to face life's challenges with wisdom and independence. However, however, if a mistake happens and it becomes a pattern repeatedly until it forms a habit and begins to harm them, then a firmer approach with clear boundaries may be necessary. So when a child is continuously making choices that could lead uh, to self-destruction or seriously impact their faith and character, our role is to shift to protecting them by setting clear limits. And this balanced approach builds confidence and stronger connection with our children. So by guiding rather than controlling, we allow them to grow resilient in their faith and trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, preparing them to face life's challenges with wisdom and independence. My dear faithful brothers and sisters, when it comes to raising our children, teaching them gratitude is one of the most powerful lessons we can give. And Allah tells us in Surah Ibrahim, verse 7, وإذ تأذن ربكم لئن شكرتم لأزيدنكم ولئن كفرتم إن عذابي لشديد. If you're grateful, I will surely increase you in favor. And this verse is a reminder that gratitude brings blessings. And by appreciating what we have rather than focusing on what we lack, we cultivate contentment and patience. And it's the quality that gives our children a sense of fulfillment than that money or success can't buy. And one of the most beautiful stories of gratitude comes from Prophet Ayub alayhi salam. He was blessed with wealth, he was blessed with family, and he was blessed with health, but was later tested with severe hardship. He lost everything. He lost his wealth, he lost his health, and even his children. And yet, despite losing everything, Ayub alayhi salam remained great. He would say, what did he say? أَنِّي مَسَّنِ الضُّرُّ وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. Allah has given me so much, and now that He is testing me, why should I not be patient? His patience and gratitude brought him through years of hardship, so many years by Allah's mercy, until by Allah's mercy, his blessings were restored, were restored in even greater measure. And this story teaches us that gratitude isn't just about saying thank you when things go well. It's about holding faith and appreciating Allah's wisdom even in hardship. And in our lives, we can teach this lesson to our children, encourage them to notice and appreciate the small blessings, the food, the family, a roof over the heads, rather than only longing for what they don't have. And when we help them focus on gratitude, we give them a lifelong foundation of patience, contentment, and joy in all that. Dear beloved mothers and fathers, instilling patience in our children is one of the greatest gifts. As I said, we can give them, especially in a world that often values instant gratification over waiting and enduring. So patience or sabr is more than just waiting, it's a deep trust in Allah's timing, in Allah's wisdom, a resilience that helps us face life's challenges with strength and calm. And teaching this to our children starts with an own example. And when they see us handling situations with patience, it plants seeds of sabr in their hearts. And I'll never forget the lesson in patience that I learned while I was working with orphans, during my university days. Children who carried unimaginable burdens. And each child I saw had experienced hardships, but there was one boy who seemed to carry um, an especially heavy load. He had witnessed his mother's tragic passing, and often he sat alone, he was scribbling on papers and stuff, and as if trying to process that pain that words cannot express. And I couldn't help but wonder who would comfort him, in those quiet, lonely nights, who would assure him that he was not alone in his suffering. So one day, I actually sat beside him and I spoke to him about patience and shared with him that Allah sees his pain and that He understands, is near, and especially in moments of hardship. And I reminded him that patience isn't just waiting, it's trusting that Allah's wisdom will bring comfort and relief. And his small nod and softening in his eyes reminded me how even the youngest hearts can find strength in Allah and with God. And the significance of patience lies in its power to help us to stay grounded in faith, and even when things don't go on our way. I repeat again, the significance of patience lies in its power to help us stay grounded in faith even when things don't go our way. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that He is with patience. Inna Allah ma'as sabirin. And when our children understand this, they develop a resilience that will support them throughout their lives. And patience helps them to not only endure life's difficulties, but to grow stronger, trusting that Allah's wisdom is always greater than our own very brothers and sisters. So I've given only around 30 minutes to speak. So before we end, let's reflect on some practical strategies for guiding our children in today's world while nurturing their Islamic values. So I would like to look into strategies, how we deal with technology. So in today's age, technology has become like a staple food, something we cannot avoid, but we must learn to manage. Just as we are mindful of what we eat, we must be intentional about how we and our children use technology. And Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught us facilitate things for people and do not make it hard for them. This is from Sahih Bukhari. And this hadith reminds us to find a balance, setting uh, healthy boundaries to help our children use technology responsibly and wisely. So I'll give you some strategies. For instance, number one, maybe we can guide children to use technology for constructive purposes, whether learning, exploring hobbies or connecting with family. Remind them that in Islam, beneficial knowledge is valued, and teach them to prioritize content that enriches both the mind and the soul. And number two, we can design it times like meals, family gatherings, an hour before bed as what we call as digital free. And this time of digital free, it will strengthen families' bonds and allow time for quiet reflection. And that the time for quiet reflection is a practice emphasized in Islam. Another strategy that we can do is we can equip children to evaluate what they view online by asking questions like, does this bring me closer to Allah? Encourage them to focus on content, lines with, and these needs training because we just don't lead them, but we guide them. Children learn with something that you need repetition, and just as we say, this makes perfect. It's the same thing. So we need to keep on advising and never stray. And And children actually mimic what they see. So by demonstrating responsible screen habits ourselves, we set an example, and Islam teaches us balance and everything and all things, and technology is no exception. And with these steps, we can teach our children to use technology mindfully and responsibly, and helping them to grow into balanced, thoughtful individuals. And this way, they learn to navigate the digital world as a tool that enhances their lives and strengthens their connection to Allah rather than letting it distract or diminish. So, dear parents, our children are our legacy, and they carry our values, reflect our efforts, and ultimately are our gift to this world. And Allah Almighty has blessed us with the role of guidance. Let us raise wisdom with compassion, with wisdom and faith, and always striving to nurture the connection with Allah and the beauty of their Islamic identity. And the Prophet Muhammad وسلم, reminded us, كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. And each of you is a shepherd, and each of you is responsible for his flock. And let us embrace this responsibility with sincerity, with care, remembering that we are planting seeds that inshallah will flourish in this life and the hereafter. And may Allah guide us in this journey of parenting, make us gentle and wise, help us nurture a generation that remembers Him, that serves their community, and carries forward the light of Islam. And may He protect our children, fill their hearts with faith, and bless all our efforts. آمين يا رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for a very beneficial talk. And so what I can conclude here that to guide our children, we have to have three principles, which is Tawhid, Akhlaq, and also justice. And also, you are mentioning several stories or examples from our Prophet, and it actually opens our minds that actually Allah gives us a hint about how you want to guide and to provide your child with good moral by reflecting or by putting the stories of the Prophet in the Quran and also Hadith and their parenting teaching styles, which is somehow kind of mind blowing. Okay, so I believe our audience have their own kids and we have a family. So if you wish to have a question, please do so by commenting on the chat provided in the Zoom application and also on YouTube Live. But I have one question. You know, in younger generation nowadays, besides social media, besides the peer pressure, they also have their own biggest concern, which is mental health. Younger generation today always want to show the importance of their mental health. We cannot be, you cannot, scold us. You cannot control us. We will have depression. We will have anxiety. So, what's your comment on that? And how you, as a mother, you want to overcome this situation or this problem? Yeah, that's my question.
Mental issue has become quite serious in these days. And I've heard from psychologists saying that some of the parents even, they leave their children with the psychologist. I mean, they don't sit to actually find the root causes or help to actually cure the problem. They leave their children to be cured by the psychologist. And we see the problem here is that there is the distance that created us maybe through technology. I mean that, that the gap of connection that is not uh, that does not exist in today's world. And as I said before, that we need to create that connection, that togetherness, starting from Allah, and it comes down to the family and how we talk to our children and advise them that faith and everything that comes together. And what we can do is that we need to encourage open communication in our family. As I said before, um, that communication, it's not just giving orders, as what we learned from Luqman, spoke in a love and compassionate way. And we need to create, as parents, we need to create a safe environment that the children will feel safe to share everything. And we need to actually guide them through this. I mean, by using the digital things, because there's so much intense into digital and telephone and gadgets and these kinds of things. We need to control them. We need to create time for them, and we need to be together. We are the artists of our children's lives, and we need to teach also emotional intelligence and how to coping skills. These kind of things. These things because when children are sick, are we see them, why did we see them? But when it comes to mental illness, it's a serious problem. We don't see it. We only see them through the symptoms that later on we see. And it's a growth, it's coming from a seed with little, and suddenly it's boom, you see him having, mental illness symptoms. And that's a really sad reality. So first, we must encourage open communication. Maybe we teach emotional intelligence and coping skills. Also, we need to identify these symptoms. As a parents, we need to identify what actually emotions, what coping mechanisms we need to what promote routine and stability. That being together, eating together, talking together. We need that consistent routine and also help them in sleeping, having healthy sleeping patterns, and then encourage physical activity. As these hormone imbalances also affects the mental condition of children and even us. And we need to limit screen time, as we know that the mental illness doesn't come from only interactions or in school, but it may come also pressure that comes from the interactions that they're having with the social things. As I said, pressures that created, they think that happiness is that way, money is everything, appearance is everything. And we as parents, we should instill them and we guide them. So there are many hands outside them, and we should not let those hands take our children. We are the ones who should take control of everything. We should promote this positive relationship within the family, and also we should develop problem solving skills, as I said, resilience, be a resilience in faith. And when Allah comes first, everything will come good, inshallah.
Okay, thank you, Doctor, for your replies and comments regarding this. We also have a question on YouTube. He said that is there any right of children in Islam? Yeah. Because as we know, in our religion, they always stress parents is our, we have to do good deeds to the parents. But how about children? Is there any rights for them if they feel hurtful or towards their parents? Or yeah, please.
Yeah. Sorry, I need the microphone. Okay, of course, everyone living on earth have their rights. When they come into our lives, the, the the one instant they come into life, they heart a heartbeat, then they have the right from their parents. And as we know, children, when they come into life, it's not just about feeding them food, when the mothers are pregnant. It's about instilling that goodness from the very beginning of 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 that development of a child. And very rarely parents look into this. That um, uh, what do you call it? Education starts from the womb, and it's just not about feeding. It's about also nurturing the soul, and a right to give a good name and identity for children, and naming. And as we know, Islam emphasizes giving children meaningful, audible names, and then also the right to life and protection. And we as parents need to protect them from harm, from to give good education, from violence, and and also in Islam, we need to cultivate good values. That is also their talk. We should provide them, good, 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 good homes so that then they can have a good education. Good education starts from home, and they have the right to be cared and to love and affection. And as I said before, we they also have the right for education and guidance, and we as parents need to promote education that has not only the religious, and also the other knowledges enabling to grow spiritually and intellectually, and have the right to be taught Islamic values, morals, and manners, and also the right to health and physical well-being. So it's it's a holistic way of looking, and right for inheritance, and then they have the right for spiritual and religious development, and right for justice and fair treatment. As I said, it's the heart of Islamic parenting, and they have the right to be heard also and respected. And we rarely think about that. So that's why I said there's a difference between to be controlled and to be guided. And you should always ask and respect them. And this gives a profound effect on their personality and future. And they have also the right to play and leisure. And as children, that's how they grow. They learn through play. And sometimes parents, they only focus on academic, and they forget that play itself and having fun itself is a way to educate, and they grow through that. And it's part of the development of what, and also Prophet Muhammad also allowed and encouraged playfulness in children, and understanding the need for joy and for free expression. And Islam places a great emphasis on fulfilling children's rights and ensuring they receive love, they receive education, protection, and respect. And parents and guardians are held accountable for providing an environment conducive for their holistic growth. And this framework, as we use it, to actually build their capacity. Education means that uh, bringing that, finding uh, and what do you call it, growing the potentialities of the children being actualized into reality, and guiding them uh, is the role of the parents, and that is part of their functioning rights, so that they can contribute positively to the society.
Okay, is there any question from Zoom? You can ask question to Dr. Ain, any kind of advice, parenting advice. Okay, so my question. So what's your comment for the parents who give their children with materials, for example, money, because in my experience, I'm work as a teacher in a very where their parents are very high profile parents. They are super rich, super great, super rich, and then when I go deeper and when I have a talk to their um, kids, they don't even know they are lacking on spiritual. Yeah, they because as you mentioned before, we need to have tawhid and also a ground. The children are not firmly grounded with faith. So, what's your comments or remark on this? Because yeah, parents also, I think parents are responsible for their children's worldly affairs. Most importantly, when the children in their teenage years, yeah, they are very, soft. They are easily influenced by other people, other by their friends. So, what's your comment on this? How can we insert the Islamic parenting on this? Yes, please, doctor.
Are you asking as a parent, or are you asking as
Sorry, come again.
a parent, or are you asking as a teacher?
For the parents, as
As a
as a
parent,
parent.
as a parent, well, you know, children they they don't have a choice in choosing their parents. So it's always important to start from the very beginning of who you choose actually, and being your spouse. That's the very beginning. That's the very most important because mothers are the cradle of the society, and they can shape the world actually. So uh, starting from that, well, they have a very materialistic. I'm not saying that you should leave completely that material life because um, material, without them also, it's what you call the life is um, it's it completes each other. That material we should have that material balance with the spiritual thing, and we can also use that material thing actually flow to this part of the spiritual path. So we cannot say that material is bad, so we can lead them to this way of spirituality. And uh, well, a lifestyle, that kind of living needs a balanced lifestyle. And children, they learn by observing their parents, and that you should know. So show them how actually you balance between work, worship, and family time, setting a strong example how to manage both material and spiritual aspects, and incorporate them, uh, incorporate faith in daily routines, integrate spirituality into everyday activities, and beginning with meals, with prayer, with expressing gratitude, to teach them spirituality, and that it can coexist with the daily life. And teach gratitude through this, you see the blessings, you see, alhamdulillah, you have all of this, and charity, from you having something a lot. You should teach your children gratitude to giving charity, and teach children to be thankful for both small and big blessings. Encourage them to thank Allah and recognize that all provisions come from Him. And yeah, of course that we need to tell them to how to limit the desires because materialism is related to desires, and explain the difference between the needs and the wants. Teach them, the value of. You need to teach them, simplicity and contentment also. So that there's a balance between that. You understand that how the people in the other world live, and you need to help them. You need to, everything in this world is just not only yours. And yeah, there should be a balance between religious knowledge and world dedication. And we have to create family rituals for worships and togetherness, and also, as I said, encourage charity, acts of kindness. It's all about setting boundaries between the material and the spiritual. So you're the artist of your children, and you should design the best for your children.
Okay, Doctor, we have two questions. One is from Zoom and the other one from YouTube. Do you want me to read in one go or one by one?
Let's go to one.
Okay, the first question from Zoom. Is there any advice for young people who are still studying and want to get married but worried about financial? Do we have to have a job first? Do we have to get a job first? Sorry. Yeah. The dilemma for the young couple.
And that's another story. That's about marriage, I guess. We'll talk about another.
So what's your comment on this?
You want me to answer?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's I mean that's about marriage. That's not about parenting. But oh yeah, I'll answer. It depends on how you see life is, and marriage is just not about wanting something to work. When you manage life, of course, you have to stand on the ground. You have to have some money to give to your family. So if you plan to marry, you have to carry um, the responsibility. It's a very heavy responsibility, and you must be responsible to your family, to your wife, to your children, and you must mm, take any ways to go and find work. Of course, money doesn't come from the sky, so you need to work hard if you want to face it. So get it going. You have to work hard. That's my advice, smaller.
Okay, last question from YouTube. Okay, what is your thought on too much pressure on children to learn a complex subject at the early age? Okay, this is the interesting question. For instance, learning mathematics at the age of 4. So, what's your opinion on this?
Sorry, your voice was a little bit. I didn't understand the question. What's that?
Okay, let me repeat the question. What is your thought on parents putting too much pressure on children to learn a complex subject at the early age? For example, learning mathematics at the age of 4. Yeah.
Of course, it's not good. What we're doing now actually is, you know, uh, it's pressuring them, and it's creating anxiety for them, and you're giving education beyond their pace, uh, the pace of 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 um, of ability. And that's a pleasure for them. And when children develop anxiety, and it's different from us, they can't speak, and that's the most dangerous thing. And I mean, if they have the talent nowadays, the brain of the children are different from us. So they are more advanced from us. They know everything under their fingers. There must be skills that actually make ease this. So we must identify, we must know our children's capabilities, whether they can cope with these kind of advanced in mathematics or whatever that you're saying skills. Because nowadays, um, life is based on skills more than quality of education. So you need to know your children whether they can cope with this. If not, they will face anxiety, they will face pressure, and actually in schools we're having this problem because of the gap that the children are they know everything and then the teachers they don't have the certain skills and capabilities of what the generation nowadays have, and when they want to teach higher higher order thinking skills, what teaching is actually confused. They make the children confused because they think that thinking is actually giving the amount of of I don't know skills or knowledge that's beyond their age, which is not. That's only making them confused. And Allah doesn't burden a soul more than what they can I mean bear. So you need to know your children and teach them.
Okay, I think that's all for from the floor, the question. Okay, so thank you so much, Doctor, for the fruitful discussion. It is very interesting topic, and I thank everyone for participating and also ask question whether in Zoom or YouTube platform. So hope we can become a good parents in the future to teach our children because in the modern world a lot of challenges and setbacks, and I think it's our responsibility to nurture our kids. And okay, let's us close our beneficial talk with tasbih kifara and surah al-as.